Hello everyone, and welcome to my Sister Wives Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The painful unraveling of her marriage to Kody. A marriage that began with youthful optimism and religious devotion but ended with silence, distance, and eventually the announcement that she and Kody were no longer spiritually married, not even in the eyes of the church, left Meri in a position that she had both dreaded and longed for, a position that would force her to redefine her identity, her family role, and her vision of what the rest of her life could look like. Meri Brown is one of the most talked. For years, Meri had been presented to viewers as the dutiful first wife, the woman who helped set the foundation of the Brown family's plural lifestyle, the one who believed wholeheartedly in their faith's teaching about plural marriage, and the one who initially encouraged Kody to court Janelle and then Christine as sister wives, and later even supported him when he decided to legally marry Robin, so that her children could have legal security. But over time, as viewers saw season after season, her face told a different story. Her tone grew more reserved, her eyes grew heavier, and her confessions in interviews hinted at a loneliness and emptiness that could not be hidden, no matter how much she tried to put on a brave face. The term spiritual divorce itself is loaded with meaning in the polygamous culture she comes from, because unlike legal divorce, which is handled by courts and paperwork, spiritual divorce is a statement of religious separation, a declaration that what God joined together through covenant has now been severed, not by human law but by spiritual recognition. And for Meri, that acknowledgement was not made lightly, nor was it reached overnight. It was the product of years of rejection, indifference, and outright neglect from Kody, who admitted more than once, both privately and publicly, that he had no interest in maintaining a romantic relationship with her anymore, that he no longer saw her as a partner, and that he did not want to pretend otherwise. Meri was left in the unenviable position of being both the first wife and yet the most forgotten, a paradox that tore at her sense of belonging. As fans watched this painful truth unfold as she sat alone during family gatherings, as her attempts at reconciliation were brushed aside, as her emotional vulnerability was dismissed as drama, and as Kody appeared to reserve his passion and commitment for Robin, the fourth wife, who quickly became the center of his life, she held on for years, insisting that she was not a quitter, that she believed in eternal marriage, that she had made vows before God, and that she would not walk away just because things got tough. However, gradually, the reality began to sink in. She was only married in name, tethered to a man who did not want her, living in a family where she was no longer valued, and forced to consider whether staying in such a situation was an act of faith or an act of self. Kody continued to live with Robin, and Meri carved out a new life for herself, one that was not defined by her role as a sister wife, but rather by her own ambitions, friendships, and self-discovery. This was Meri and Kody's agreement on camera that their relationship was no longer a marriage in any sense of the word, that the spiritual bond was broken, and that they would each go their own way. This was the moment when the spiritual divorce. What made the moment especially poignant for fans was the way Meri handled it. With a calm strength, a sense of dignity, and a quiet acknowledgement that she had fought long enough, cried long enough, and waited long enough for Kody to turn toward her again, and that now it was time to turn toward herself. The catfishing scandal, which left her emotionally vulnerable, and gave Kody another reason to distance himself from her. The interminable discussions about Coyote Pass in which she appeared to be excluded from Kody's vision of the future. The numerous occasions when family gatherings showed her sitting alone, unacknowledged, and her laughter not echoing with the same warmth as in earlier seasons, and the interviews in which she admitted that she desired love, partnership, and intimacy but was not receiving any of it from her husband were just in her world. Spiritual divorce was more than just a statement. It was also a liberation, a release from the limbo she had been living in, the twilight zone between marriage and singlehood, where she was bound in name but abandoned in practice. It was also a rebirth, a chance to reimagine what her life could be like without the constant pain of unrequited love. Spiritual divorce was more than just a statement. Meri has thrown herself into running her bed and breakfast, Lizzie's Heritage Inn, in honor of her late mother. She has traveled, spent time with friends, and built her own support network outside of the Brown family. She has posted inspirational messages on social media to remind her followers that they too can rise from brokenness, that they too can claim joy after disappointment, and that no one is obligated to remain where they are unloved. Meri's journey since then has been marked by a newfound independence despite how strong she appears. Viewers are aware of the extent of what she gave to Kody: decades of loyalty, the sacrifices of living in multiple marriages, the hope of eternal family, years of emotional investment that were never reciprocated. And that loss is something that cannot be erased overnight. And the wound that remains visible. Some fans criticize Kody for leading Meri on for so long, for not being honest sooner, for using her loyalty to maintain appearances, while others admire Meri for finally stepping away, for not waiting until her entire life had passed before realizing she deserved more. And in the larger cultural conversation, Meri's spiritual divorce has sparked discussions about the cost of plural marriage on women, the ways in which women are silenced or sidelined in polygamous families, and the resilience required to walk away from a faith-driven covenant when it no longer serves the heart. Even though Meri is no longer spiritually married to Kody, she remains spiritually married to herself, committed to her own growth, her own happiness, and her own vision of what a fulfilling life should be. In this sense, Meri's spiritual divorce was less of an ending than a beginning. The closing of one book so that she could finally write her own story without compromise, neglect, or the constant shadow of being someone else's afterthought. Today, Meri speaks about her past with a mixture of pride in the end. Meri Brown's decision to leave her marriage and accept a spiritual divorce is more than just a reality TV storyline. It is also a deeply human story about heartbreak, courage, and renewal, the strength it takes to let go of something that no longer loves you, and the beauty of finding your own worth after decades of being told, through actions and words alike, that you did not have any. Meri Brown, star of Sister Wives, has a new man named Ron. He has been exposed to significant information. There is a lot to unfold and uncover when it comes to this. However, her adoring fans have been clamoring for more details about her new boyfriend. It seems like fans will be seeing a lot of him when it comes to the next season of Sister Wives. Continue reading to learn more about this circumstance. Meri Brown leaves marriage, spiritually divorced. Meri Brown was married to Kody Brown for a long time. She was the relationship's first wife. However, the two of them shared a lot of difficult times. There was the catfish scandal that almost ruined their relationship. However, Meri left shortly after Christine and Janelle did. She also divorced Kody spiritually, something that neither Janelle nor Christine did. However, she had a brief affair with a man before it became clear that he was not who he appeared to be. She hasn't had many dates since then. However, that has changed now that she may have a new beau.